Welcome back to our Strength and Conditioning Needs for Blind Athletes series. Today we are talking about running. Now, these topics that we're talking about today are going to apply for anyone just trying to walk around, jog, run, really any speed of getting around. So it's going to be able to help you for your activities of daily living and implying your independence, helping you be able to be fitter for being able to move around with your cane, everything like that, or again, pursuing something more aggressive. Even up to, marathons or ultra marathons, doing tandem running or anything like that. So let's hop straight into it. Number one is going to be feet and the lower leg. These are incredibly important and often forgotten about in the blind community because everyone thinks about blindness being just about the eyes, and that's way up high in the body, and so we forget about what's at the bottom, which is our feet. Our feet are incredibly important to keep healthy and functional because we need them to be able to give us information even more so than sighted people. We don't get nearly as much from our visual system, so we need to make sure that the proprioception that comes from all of the nerve endings on the bottom of our feet are able to be functional and give us a lot of information about what's going on in our environment. So being able to splay out your toes, being able to strengthen your arch, being able to balance in multiple different directions, all incredibly important. And then when we move our way just north of that to the rest of the lower leg, everything below the knee, we need our calves, our shins, our shin muscles, our anterior tibialis, everything to be able to take the ballistic nature of jogging, running, or even just walking for longer durations than perhaps we're used to. So we can do different things like bounces, calf raises, and tib raises, which is where you do the opposite of a calf raise. So instead of going up on your toes, instead you're bringing your toes up towards your shins in order to flex those muscles on the front of your lower leg. Being able to do a circuit of those, as well as being able to practice balancing and rotating and moving around in different directions, can be incredibly important to make sure that everything below the knee is prepared and not being kind of that rate limiting factor for you when it comes to, again, running, jogging, walking, whatever. Moving on from there, we need to make sure that our hips are incredibly ready as well. When we think about running, this can be a lot longer stride than is typical in our everyday lives, especially as blind people. The blind community tends to be very sedentary, where our knees are tucked into our chest and we never really get our knee out way behind our hip, where we're having that really long stride. So being able to normalize that posture by finding a balance point, getting in that nice long lunge position, and then really allowing that big toe to be stretched on the back end, the calf, and the front of that hip. If I have my left leg back, my right leg forward as my support, then I'm going to be able to stretch the front of that left leg, as well as dose in some different kind of sways, shimmy side to side, leans forward and backward, and staying in nice, good, tall, upright posture in order to really open up this stride, which is, again, incredibly important and not used enough in our daily life. So we have to make sure to normalize that posture, make sure we're good and safe and effective when it comes to taking those longer jogging or running strides. Next is going to be our breathing. Breathing is obviously important for running and doing any sort of cardio or living, and we need to make sure that we're able to do so in an appropriate manner. A lot of times we're going to get really stressed, especially with visual impairment and trying to run around. It can be very stressful because we don't exactly know what's going on from each step to the next. So that can be very stressful. It causes us to start to chest breathe, heave up, and then not be able to drop our diaphragm down and get as deep of breaths, which can also be calming and allow us to intake more oxygen and dispel more carbon dioxide. So we have to make sure that we're working on our breathing, and then by doing that, strengthening their intercostals, opening up the diaphragm better, and allowing for better breathing practices, which are then going to just compound on us being able to be more effective runners, and everything is really going to be able to build upon each other that way. And then lastly, what I have is our posture. Posture is incredibly important because we tend to have very rounded posture in general in the blind community, and a lot of weird compensations can then happen from that. So if you're trying to keep your head up but you're rounded in your upper back or other places in your neck, then you're going to have a lot of pinching towards the top of the skull. We're also going to have issues with where you're kind of hunkering down. If we have any sort of tripping hazard or anything like that, we want to be nice and upright as possible. It kind of gives us a little bit more room for air. If we were to start tripping, we're already a little bit taller instead of being all hunched over where we're half fallen already. It's also going to allow you to breathe better and, again, be able to detect what's going on in your environment better as well. you're going to be able to hear better and detect things better as well. Instead of, again, being all hunched over and then running like that is very ineffective, and those forces going all the way up into a weirdly rounded spine aren't going to allow for you to be able to thrive as much as possible. That's all I have for today when it comes to running, jogging, and anything within that speed continuum when it comes to you as a blind athlete or just someone trying to be a little bit more active. If you have any more questions, go ahead and let me know. And we're always looking for suggestions for other blind sports or activities to cover from a biomechanical and physiological sense, so you know how to train and how to prepare your body in order to survive and thrive.